Louis V, nicknamed the Lazy, was the King of Western Francia from 986 until his premature death. He died childless and was the last monarch in the Carolingian line. Life. Early years. The eldest son of King Lothair and his wife Emma, a daughter of Lothair II of Italy, Louis was born c. 966–67. His father already associated him to the government in 978 and made him officially crowned co-king on 8 June 979 at the Abbey of St. Corneille in Compiègne by Archbishop Adalberon of Reims. However, he didn't assume power until Lothair's death in 986. Louis V was the last Carolingian king of Western Francia and reigned in Laon from the 2nd of March 986 until his own death, at the age of 20, in 987. In 982 at Vieux-Brioude, Haute-Loire, the 15-year-old Louis married with the 40-year-old Adelaide Blanche of Anjou, a sister of Count Geoffrey and twice a widow from her previous marriage with Count Stephen of Gévaudan and Count Raymond of Toulouse, Prince of Gothia. This union was purely political and arranged by the king following the advices of Queen Emma and Count Geoffrey I, with the double purpose to restore the Carolingian presence in the south of the kingdom of the Franks, and to obtain the support of the local lords in his fight against the Robertians, being now related by marriage with two of the most powerful southern comital families of the kingdom. Lothair believes that he could confront the power of Hugh Capet. Immediately after the wedding, Louis and Adelaide Blanche were crowned king and queen of Aquitaine by Adelaide's brother Bishop Guy of Le Puy. However, since the beginning the mismatched couple was unable to peacefully live together, not only due to the notorious age difference between them but also because of Louis's debauched lifestyle. They had almost no conjugal love, because Louis barely left the puberty, and Adelaide was old. Among them were only incompatibility and disagreements that didn't share a common chamber, and in this way they can't suffer with the presence of the other. When they had to travel, each took a separate residence, and when they were forced to talk, their conversations were in the open air and never were long but only a few words. They lived in this way for 2 years, until they obtained the divorce, not only for their opposite characters but also because Louis, who at that point was unmanageable due to his youth, indulged himself in all sorts of frivolity. In 984, after 2 years of childless union, Adelaide tricked her young husband to make a visit to Aquitaine, and once there, she left him and returned with her family, marrying shortly after with Count William I of Provence. When the young prince reached adolescence, Lothair made him king and appointed him his successor. He also chooses for him a princess of Aquitaine as his wife, but soon she perceived that the young man didn't inherit the talents of his father. Therefore she decided to separate from her husband, and for this purpose she adroitly convinced him to make a trip to her province of Aquitaine, assuming that his hereditary rights there guaranteed him the possession of the land. Louis, without suspecting the artifice, yielded to the advice of his wife, and went with her. When they were in Aquitaine, she left her husband to join his family. However, despite being recorded by relative, contemporary and later sources, the existence of this marriage was recently challenged by historian Carl Richard Bruhl. Reign and death. On his father's death on the 2nd of March 986, the already crowned Louis V became the undisputed king of the Franks. However, at that time in the Frankish court existed two parties, one led by Archbishop Adalberon of Reims and Queen Emma, who, being strongly influenced by her mother Empress Adelaide, wanted the renewal of friendly relationships with the Ottonian dynasty. The other party, on the other hand, wanted to continue Lothair's policy, and, taking advantage of the minority of Emperor Otto III, wanted a policy of expansion to the east and the recovery of Lotharingia. In addition, the young monarch inherited a battle between his father's line of elected kings, and the house of the Holy Roman Emperor Otto I. As defender of Rome, Otto I had the power to name the clergy in Carolingian territory, and the clergy he had named were not supporting the Carolingians. Initially Queen Emma dominated the situation, but in the summer of 986, there was a reversal. The anti-Ottonian party prevailed, and she was forced to leave court and seek refuge with Hugh Capet. This event also put Adalberon in a predicament. Being elevated by Otto I to the powerful archbishopric of Reims, he was forced to leave his episcopal seat and took refuge in one of his fortresses on the Meuse River, who belonged to the Ottonian sphere. The escape of the archbishop was perceived by Louis V as treason. He turned violently against Adalberon and threatened him to besiege Reims, with the matter being finally settled in a trial court at Compiègne. However, before this meeting Louis V changed his mind and sought a reconciliation with Adalberon. In the spring of 987 he also planned a peace meeting with Empress Theophanu, who could act on behalf of her son Otto III. Before all these tangled events were resolved, Louis V died on the 21st of May 987 from a fall while hunting in the forest of Halata near the town of Senlis. He was buried in the Abbey of Saint-Corneille in Compiègne. He left no legitimate heirs, so his uncle Charles, Duke of Lower-Lorraine, was nominated as the hereditary successor to the throne. But the clergy, including both Adalberon and Gerbert, argued eloquently for Hugh Capet, who was not only of royal blood but had proven himself through his actions and his military might. Capet was elected to the Frankish throne and Adalberon crowned him, all within 2 months of Louis V's death. Thus the Carolingian dynasty ended and the Capetian began. Ancestry.